This is Trey Pastor, and welcome to the Horoscope 101 channel. And it's Saturday, so it's my day. And this week is Hammer Horror. Okay, I'm a big fan of the Hammer horror films. Absolutely love them. Okay, now the movie that I'll be reviewing this week is Dracula, Prince of Darkness. And I'm holding the VHS tape, actually of the movie that I watched yesterday, well, actually on Wednesday. And I actually taped this off of cable a long time ago because I actually have the VHS of this, but I can't find it in my massive movies. I have some VHS tapes in a closet that I can't find, and I've been looking through and I can't find it as of me filming this video. And maybe if I find it later before, I'll edit it in at the end or something. Anyway, this is the this movie came out in 1966, of course, and now I for a long time thought this Dracula, Prince of Darkness was the sequel to the horror of Dracula, a movie that I reviewed earlier on the Horoscope 101 channel, and I'll leave a link to that video if you want to see that somewhere in here. Okay, but it's not. Reading about the Hammer horror films, actually, The Brides of Dracula is the sequel to the horror of Dracula, and the reason, because they wanted, after the success of Horror of Dracula, Hammer of course wanted to make a sequel, of course, and they got Peter Cushing back as Van Helsing, but Christopher Lee turned the part down, Dracula, in the movie because he said he didn't want to get typecast as Dracula, so he turned the part down. So they had to rewrite the script and stuff, and made the main villain in that movie a disciple of Dracula. Okay, anyway, but this movie, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, opens like 10 years later. I'm saying Christopher Lee, I guess, back, he agreed to do this movie. Okay, and this movie came out in year 1966. Of course, it stars Christopher Lee as Count Dracula, and the reason Peter Cushing is not in this movie, that you think he would be, is because at the time of filming, they said his wife was, severely ill, in bad health, so he had to turn this down to take care of her. Okay, so they rewrote the story again. Okay, for this one. And then this story is basically about four travelers that are traveling in the country somewhere near the Castle Dracula, and they run into a priest or a father, Father Sando, played by Andrew Kerr. And let me tell you who the four travelers are. You get Barbara Shelley as Helen Kent, and then you have her husband Alan Kent, played by Charles Tingwell. Then you have his brother Charles Kent, played by Francis Matthews, and his wife Diana Kent, played by Susan Farmer. Okay, they're traveling, of course, and Helen is a kind of a uptight, prudish kind of woman. Charles Kent is the younger brother of Alan Kent. He's more of a carefree kind of guy, and his young wife Diana Kent, they're more carefree. And like I said, Helen is kind of uptight, and then her husband, he just basically goes along with whatever she says. Anyway, they run into Father Sandow, who they meet in a pub, and he tells them, about the village and all the various superstitions and stuff, and he basically tells them to avoid the Castle Dracula. Whatever you do, just avoid it, okay? And he even offers to extend them to come to visit him in the monastery where he stays at, okay? So then he goes on his way, and while they're traveling, they get up the next day, they have an itinerary of where they're going to go, but it gets to be towards sundown, and the stagecoach driver who's driving them, once he comes near Castle Dracula, he refuses to go any further, and he basically, of course they argue with him, but it comes to a point where he even pulls a knife on them and says, "I won't go any further." He won't even acknowledge the Castle Dracula is right there. Okay, so he throws their bags down and tell them that if you want to, I'll come back in the morning and take you on to wherever you want to go, but I'm not going to go anywhere near Castle Dracula. Okay, so of course they're stunned and appalled, of course, but there's a small little hut there where he drops them off that they could stay in, I guess, until the morning. But then all of a sudden a carriage pulls up, okay, and with a horse, full-blown horse carriage, they decide to get into it, okay, and travel that way to to their next destination. But of course these horses have a mind of their own, and they take them directly into Castle Dracula, where of course they're greeted, by a servant a gentleman called Clove, who invites them in and explains to them that my master, the late Count Dracula, has set up a thing in his will that any weary traveler will definitely be, they can stay at his castle, of course, and be given, food and stuff and go on their way. Okay. So they're staying, of course, in this this castle, even though the priest warned them, and even though Helen Kent is nervous about it, and she's always complaining and saying that we should never came here. This is an eerie place, and that the servant Clove gives her the creeps, and this whole castle gives her the creeps, and the rest of them basically ignore her ramblings. They think she's just being uptight like she usually is. Okay, and then of course during the night, okay, and this is not going to be a spoiler because hence because of the movie Dracula, he gets resurrected. I won't tell you how he gets resurrected, but it does involve part of the young travelers there. There's a certain circumstance that happens during the night that revives Count Dracula, who's been dead for the past 10 years, but he gets revived. And of course, then the rest of the movie is the battle between Dracula and these travelers, and then of course Father Sandel, who knows the legend of Dracula and stuff, and helps the couples. And it's a really good movie, good atmosphere. And what I love about this movie, in this movie, Christopher Lee, well, this is a spoiler for those who haven't seen it, okay? Put a minor spoiler, but it doesn't take away from the movie. Christopher Lee is Dracula, of course, is intimidating as ever. And he's one of my favorite Draculas of all time. He doesn't speak in this movie at all. I think I read somewhere that they said they gave him a little bit of dialogue, but he decided not to use it. He said he wanted his Dracula character to be basically like an animal and just be all instinct and not speak at all. That it would make him more imposing and more frightening. And it actually does, and it actually works. You think not having the villain speak would hurt the movie, but it totally did not. His character Dracula was just intimidating and frightening and a real monster. Okay, like I said, I don't want to spoil it by telling you how the couple interact with Dracula, but there's some frightening things that go on between the couples and Dracula, and then of course Father Sandel, who played by Andrew Kerr, who has this really strong presence, and he has like a voice. I think somebody described his voice. It's like a voice from God. It's like a big booming voice, nice baritone, and it sounds very authoritative, and it really works. And they're really lucky to have him as a ally in the battle against Dracula. And I really enjoyed this movie, Dracula, Prince of Darkness. Like I said, I love all the Christopher Lee Dracula movies. Anyway, that's my review of but like I said, I didn't want to spoil it, but it's definitely worth seeing. And I think this movie's only like 85 minutes or so, like that. Like I said, it moves and it has a nice creepy atmosphere. Christopher Lee, of course, is great as Dracula. Special mention to Barbara Shelley, who's been famous for her horror movies, and she's really good as Helen Kent. The uptight traveler who's really uptight and frightened, and she's trying to warn the other travelers not to go to Castle Dracula, of course, and of course they ignore her. Okay, she's really good also. And I like Francis Matthews as Charles Kent, the younger brother of the two brothers. He's the younger guy and the more loose guy. He's willing to take more chances and stuff. He's really good also. Okay, but definitely let me know what you think of Dracula, Prince of Darkness. I would definitely highly recommend you see that, especially. And I know Karate Popcorn mentioned that she hasn't seen that many Hammer horror movies, but I definitely recommend you, Robin, you check into especially the Christopher Lee Dracula movies. They're great. Even Brides of Dracula, Christopher Lee's not in that movie, but it's a great movie anyway. Definitely check that out. And I have that movie on VHS somewhere, and I gotta find that. Okay, and I also read when I was doing a little research about this movie, they're supposed to release the Hammer horror films, I think this summer. Start releasing them in the U.S. I know you can get some of them in the UK, but they're starting to. I think they recently signed a deal, distribution deal with an American company, and they're going to start releasing the Hammer films in the U.S., which is really good. I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, let me know what you think. Okay. Also, just want to mention you can check out my channel. Okay, I do reviews and Blu-ray unboxings and contest videos and contest entries, comic book updates, and my link to my channel is somewhere right in here. Okay, and also want to let you know tomorrow is Kayla Jarris Day. Okay, for Hammer Horror Film. So I don't know exactly what she's going to be reviewing, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. Okay, so you check out her channel. And again, next week I believe is Asian horror or Asian remake. I think that's what's next week. Okay, which should be interesting. Okay, and like I said, tomorrow's Kayla, and then Monday it starts again with DVD Collector 1974. So feel free to leave your comments down below and let me know what you think of Dracula, Prince of Darkness. And this is Trey Pastor saying so long and take care.